Best of all, My Patriot Supply is offering an incredible deal for listeners of this station. When you go to mypatriotsupply.com and order a Grid Doctor 3300, they'll include a free expansion battery that doubles your backup power at no additional cost. Go to mypatriotsupply.com now and get prepared. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
Hey parents, you don't need the latest gizmo, slang, or clothes to be a perfect parent, because kids in foster care don't need perfection. They need you. For more information on how you can adopt, go to adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
You're tuned in to Money Matters Boston, 1120 AM WBNW. This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275CM FM. Concord, Boston, the Money Matters Radio Network.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Mark Vonner is the CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Mark is a career military man, having served for nearly 20 years, and we are so thrilled to have him and his company as a key partner and the presenting sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston. Mark comes from a proud military family, including his father Victor and his brother Timmy. Mark talks often about how serving his country was one of the greatest achievements of his life, and that's one of the key reasons that he chooses to give back to this special community. Mark is honored to continue his legacy that his father started when he built Veterans Development Corporation. Working to help many disabled veterans and their families has become a lifelong goal for Mark, and it's why he's taken the time to fully support the DAV Department of Massachusetts. You can join Mark Vonner and Veterans Development Corporation and help our great American heroes today by making a donation or becoming a sponsor. Simply visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our guide this month is titled Inflation and Your Retirement Plan. Mike, why is it so important for retirees to account for inflation in their planning?
Yeah, massively important, and I think any retiree over any course of history will tell you that. And when you experience inflation, when you're on a fixed income, it's tremendously difficult. But even small changes in the rate of inflation, or seemingly small ones, can really lead to massive changes. For example, if you're facing 2% inflation, that means that prices roughly double every 35 years. If you're looking at 4% inflation instead, those same prices double only in 17 years. A huge change to your budget.
And obviously, this also then influences, your overall spending habits and your withdrawal rate over time. These are things that you have to account for in your planning. You can't just assume that you're going to necessarily see the same kind of inflation that you've seen previously in retirement.
Yeah, look, I think generally speaking, over the course of the last 20 years, while there have been massive drawdowns in equities, the inflation figure has remained relatively stable. If you're worried about something that could look different from that over the course of the next 20 years, then it's important to really consider what that would mean for you.
Our guide this month is titled Inflation and Your Retirement Plan, and there are two ways you can request it. The first is by calling 800-393-4001, or you can request it online at armstrongadvisory.com. That phone number again is 800-393-4001, or request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We pride ourselves on being able to support veterans in their time of greatest need, ensuring they receive the protections they deserve. For over 100 years, the DAV of Massachusetts has helped thousands of veterans with housing, transportation, and medical assistance, and you can help too. Please visit dav5k.boston and make a donation today. That's dav5k.boston.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Chuck, Mike, and Tucker with you as we continue through a busy week of economic data. This morning, we got a few different pieces that we're going to talk about. We got ADP jobs data at 8:15 a.m. We got balance of trade data at 8:30 a.m. We got weekly jobless claims data at 8:30 a.m. We got ISM services data at 10 a.m. And, Michael, it is dealer's choice. Where do you want to start today?
Simplest and quickest, and the weekly data we get. Let's start there at the weekly jobless claims of 237,000. A decent size increase from the previous week of 229, but still keeps that 4-week moving average in that, I guess, 231 range now, which, again, bit of an uptick, but in my mind, at least, we can file this one under no significant change in the overall trend line. Is that where you would put it, or are you worried about an 8,000 uptick?
I am unexcited about this. Yeah. Where I am with weekly jobless claims, we've seen these wiggles between 210 and 250,000 for basically the last 3 years now.
Yep.
In order for me to think that there's anything meaningful afoot in terms of, hey, should I be worried about what's happening with initial jobless claims? I need at least back-to-back weeks over 260, and even then, it's more like, okay, is there anything, really going on here? If you really want to get me, all, this looks not good, I think we're talking like 3 to 4 weeks north of 275,000, and then I'm saying, yeah, there's a problem
rates going
here.
Up there. Yeah.
But at this point, we're still well within a normal range. If you look at prior years, we're actually, even with the uptick here, we're in line with last year from a seasonal perspective. It's just the last few weeks we were much better than last year. And so I'm unconvinced that there's anything interesting happening with initial claims, even though the trend has been upward for the last month or so. These wiggles more often than not work themselves out. And it's not worth, getting your intestines all twisted just because, claims went up for a couple of weeks here.
Good.
Continuing claims, also pretty consistent right now, 1.94 million. If you do the math and compare it to last year, it's about 5% higher than last year, which is pretty much where we've been for most of this year. It doesn't make you feel great. It doesn't make you feel terrible. It just is. And so I think ultimately all right, it's fine. It's not a huge problem. It's not suggesting, the labor market's improving. It's not suggesting it's worsening at a clip that's going to cause real problems. Once again, sorry to all the doomers out there. It's not the end of the world. To all the people who think it's the best economy ever, it's not that either. It's just meh. Like that's what this week says, which is kind of what the labor data has been showing since last August, quite honestly.
Should we stay on labor then and go to ADP?
Yes, let's continue laboring. ADP, which no one pays attention to, even though, to be fair, the interesting thing is even though no one pays attention to ADP, it's got a pretty good track record recently, at least for the last 6 months or so, of trending with the BLS data on a 3-month moving average. They're pretty much in line. So hey, they're pretty good at predicting where that's going to go, not month to month, but again, that 3-month average is pretty spot on right now. ADP employment change came in at 54,000 for the month. That is below expectations of 65,000. Again, no one really cares about ADP, so this is not a tradable event. It's not something that people get all hyped up about. But if you're just trying to say, hey, what does this say about what Friday could mean? Not really suggesting any meaningful shift in job growth as well. But the thing that I keep coming back to, we need to spend less time focusing on job growth right now and more time focusing on the unemployment rate, because the unemployment rate is what the Fed cares about ultimately. Job growth is not something that they can influence. The unemployment rate is something. I know that that's kind of a weird distinction, but the reason why is the Fed cannot add to the population or add to the working age population. They don't have that tool in their quiver. Anything that Jay Powell does on that side is outside his duties as Fed chair. And so, as such, it's something where the Fed focuses on the unemployment rate, not on the pace of job growth, because the population is not something that they can control.
And that's the piece that I think everybody's that looks at this closely is scratching their head on, is what are we going to see happen with this unemployment rate given the changes in baby boomers retiring, but more significantly in the massive change in the trend line on immigration. Last 2 years, I think we were averaging, 3 million new people entering the United States per year, and this year we're at something like negative 300,000.
Yeah, well, no one knows. I don't think we're very good at, knowing exactly the numbers. I mean,
it's a best guess.
Here's the thing. If you knew, then you probably, would have a better sense of exactly, what's going on from an immigration perspective, which it's clear that we haven't. So, interesting piece on this. One of the things in the JOLTS report yesterday that a lot of people are talking about in social media is the quits rate in the construction industry. And I don't know if you happen to see this, Mike, but everyone's talking about this because the quits rate in the construction industry fell to under 1%. The last time the quits rate was that low in the construction industry was 2009. So you look at it, and naturally you get, everyone who's all gloom and doom saying, oh, the quits rate is the lowest since the great financial crisis. We're going to, the S&P's going to 8. That's what you get, the people saying. That's the voice they use, too.
Yep.
And
all of them.
I think the interesting read-through on this, to me, is, okay, one read on this, quits rates tend to go down when people are nervous about losing their jobs. And so, sure, if there's less construction activity, which, by the way, there is, you look across the board, year over year now, residential, manufacturing, all private construction is now contracting year over year. So that is happening. So I can understand, okay, maybe the quits rate falls a bit on the construction side. But here's the thing about this JOLTS number that I want to point out. The first is, when you look at industry-specific quits rates, they're really volatile month to month. You can see 0.5% wiggles within a trend. So it's very possible that with next month's survey, this bounces back up to 1.2 or 1.3%. And I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying it's not, one data point does not necessarily mean a ton here. But the other piece is, if you think about this from the perspective of, hey, of the undocumented workers that are working in, the United States,
a lot of them are, focused in two major areas, agriculture and construction.
Yes.
If a lot of those workers either have been deported or are nervous about being deported and so they're not showing up to work, then the remaining workers are saying, great, pay me more in order to get me to show up, and so they're not necessarily quitting at the rate they used to.
I'd buy that.
We've been conditioned over the entirety of the data that we have to believe that labor demand is the only thing that matters, because we've always had not an unlimited labor supply, but a consistently growing one.
And that's been kind of what has set, by the way, you take a look at American demographics compared to most other developed nations, that's part of what has set us apart here. I mean, there's plenty of other things about the U.S. economy that make it unique, but the supply of labor and our birth rates has been one of them that has bucked the trend of other developed nations.
Right. I'm not saying that, our birth rates and everything are great, but they're better than just about everywhere else that is, broadly developed. And so I think the interesting thing is to look at some of this data not through the lens of, oh, gee, does this mean that labor demand is cratering in construction? Hey, what if labor supply is moving down significantly too? And this is something that we have never had to consider. Never. Like the working age population has always been growing in the United States.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is going to be a long-term trend, but what if there's a couple of years here where the working age population shrinks?
Then it works in the same direction as a few other things when it comes to inflation.
We have to think about, these data sets a little differently. So I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm just saying, hey, this is something that we need to think about when we're looking at some of this data. So we got through weekly jobless claims. We got through ADP.
Chuck, I know we need to shift to other things, but there's one other piece on the labor market that I think I want to cover when we come back, and that's specifically the labor market in Massachusetts in particular. I know we don't usually get state by state here, but there seems to be something unique going on in Mass. I don't know how much you've covered it, but I want to cover that when we come back, is Massachusetts labor market and maybe some trends that are differing from the national scenario that we should talk about.
Let's do that.
We'll be right back.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Like us on YouTube and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. This month's free guide from Cushing & Dolan is called IRA and Life Insurance Planning, Estate Tax Strategies and Nursing Home Protection. Learn how naming your estate a beneficiary can reduce estate taxes, protect assets from nursing home costs, and avoid the 5-year Medicaid waiting period. Call 866-848-5699 to get your free guide today, or request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts has helped me and countless others adjust to civilian life through a variety of incredible programs. Through our local Veterans Assistance Program, we provide necessary services to veterans and their communities, such as food shopping, landscaping, and companionship, but we need your support. You can help by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
This fall, why just watch the leaves change when you could watch the sunset over turquoise waters? The U.S. Virgin Islands are your perfect fall escape. Set sail on the sparkling blue sea, snorkel colorful reefs, kayak through calm lagoons, or try to reel in the big one with world-class sport fishing. Then, explore Charlotte-Amalie, the capital of St. Thomas, with its historic streets and duty-free shopping. Ferry to St. John's Virgin Islands National Park for hiking and secluded beaches. And finally, experience the culture, festivals, and rum of St. Croix. 3 incredible islands, countless experiences, and something for everyone to enjoy. With easy travel from New England, no passport required for U.S. citizens, and no money to exchange, paradise is closer than you think. So why wait? This can be the season you fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands in America's Caribbean. The U.S. Virgin Islands. Plan your getaway now at visitusvi.com. That's visit usvi.com.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. One of the biggest risks to retirement isn't just market volatility, it's longevity. People are living 25 to 30 years after they stop working, and that gives inflation plenty of time to work against you. At just 3% inflation, your expenses double in about 23 years. Add to that the fact that healthcare costs typically rise faster than general inflation, and your later years could be your most expensive. Without a plan, that combination can put real pressure on your savings. That's why we've put together a brand new guide called Inflation in Your Retirement Plan. The guide shows you ways to balance longevity risk with rising costs and strategies that may help you make your money last through decades of retirement. Call 800-393-4001 to get your free copy today. 800-393-4001, or you can request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Mark Vonner is the CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Mark is a career military man, having served nearly 20 years, and we are so proud to have him and his business as a key partner and a presenting sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston. The DAV Department of Massachusetts does incredible work, and it's one of the first organizations that Mark became familiar with after his military service ended back in 1984. As Mark built his company, he knew he'd be giving back to fellow veterans who needed jobs, support services, medical supplies, and so much more. Mark works with disabled veterans every day, and it's one of the key reasons why he's such a big supporter of Dan Stack, the DAV Department of Massachusetts, and the DAV 5K Boston. You can join Mark Vonner and his team and make a donation to the DAV Department of Massachusetts or become a sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston. Simply visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
This is your home for the most comprehensive coverage of the economy and the trends on Wall Street. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This year's DAV 5K is less than 3 months away, and slots are filling up fast. So if you'd like to participate, now's the time to register. The race is Saturday, November 8th at Castle Island, and you can visit dav5k.boston to sign up or join our team, Team TFE. Your support helps fund free rides to medical appointments for veterans and the nation's first DAV-led housing initiative, providing homes for single veterans and veteran families. Go to dav5k.boston and register today.
So, Chuck, earlier this year, we were kind of just wondering and talking about, like, okay, government funding cuts, R&D cuts. How does this affect different economies? And in particular, I think you and I focused a little bit on the Boston-based biotech and education economy and labor market and said, that could be interesting in terms of how it shapes out. I was then, just over the last week having meeting up with a few people that work in the biotech industry and either had lost their job or were nervous about potentially losing their job. And then we had the Harvard news from yesterday about the funding cuts to Harvard. And so I wanted to take a look again at what's been the trend line on Massachusetts versus national unemployment. And as we've spoken about, when it comes to the national unemployment scenario, over the course of the last year, you've been in a very narrow range. I think the high's been 4.2, the low's been 4.0. So you haven't really gone anywhere on total national unemployment. But taking a look at the Massachusetts data, and Chuck, I'm comparing all the seasonally adjusted data here. The last time the national and Massachusetts unemployment rate were the same was back in December. Since then, like I said, national scenario just been kind of bumping around, but right around 4.1, 4.2. Massachusetts has now climbed to 4.8%. Mm-hmm. I just find that interesting. I don't think you can look at that and definitively say, hey, here's the stuff we were talking about. But it would certainly fit in with that narrative. We don't, I believe, get the state-by-state level data when it comes to certain industries, so we can't really tie that piece out. But I took a look at the surrounding New England area. None of the other states are experiencing something like this. And so something to monitor, I guess, for those of us that make our living here in New England, make our living here in the Boston area. Might we be seeing a bit of a change in the trend line when it comes to what has historically been a labor and housing market that does not fluctuate quite as much as the national market.
Let's talk about a couple alternate explanations.
Sure.
We've talked about how nationally, if it weren't for the labor force participation rate going down, the unemployment rate over the last 6 months would have risen to 4.8, 4.9%.
Yes.
Pretty much in line with what we would have seen in Massachusetts.
Yep.
Could one hypothesis be because Massachusetts has fewer people in industries that are typically staffed with higher percentages of undocumented workers? Again, construction and agriculture.
Food processing. Yeah.
Could it be that we are not seeing similar reductions in the labor force, and so Massachusetts is behaving as the rest of the country would if the labor force weren't shrinking the way it is?
Yeah, that could be. In either case, it doesn't. I guess
none of it makes you feel great about anything.
Right. It doesn't matter a whole bunch if you still have the unemployment rate climbing for one reason or another because of, your concentration in a specific industry or lack of concentration in an industry. But something to certainly keep an eye on because, let's be honest, Chuck, if this had been the national trend on unemployment, people would be bringing out the Somme rule again. People would be very concerned about recession on the national stage.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up a couple other ones here. Give me just 1 second while I pull this up. So I'm pulling up unemployment rates in Florida, Texas, and California, and I have no idea what I'm going to see.
Yeah.
So come on, where are you, California? I know you're here. You do exist.
West Coast.
Okay, here. Thank you, Tucker. It's on the West Coast?
You're welcome.
I had no idea. Unemployment, California. Okay, that one just does not. Here we go. There it is. Okay, so we got all four of these now. If we take a look right now, and I'll start from, where do you want me to start? From beginning of this year, beginning of last year?
I compared December to now, so grab December.
Okay, so December. Massachusetts was 4.1, Texas was 4.2, Florida was 3.4, California was 5.5. As of today, Texas has gone from 4.2 to 4.0. That meshes if you think that a bunch of people have been deported from Texas. If you look at Florida, we've gone from 3.4 to 3.7. Okay, modest move up, not quite what we've seen in Massachusetts. California, you've gone from 5.5 to 5.5.
No change.
Big conclusion, I don't know that you can tell anything from any of this at a state level right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Listen, all we do when we look at this stuff, you try to come up with a story that might make sense.
Right.
I don't know that there's a coherent story on any of these at the moment. The biotech thing could be with Massachusetts because you're not seeing, well, maybe you are. Maybe.
Let's be honest, too. California, Texas, and Florida, because of the size of their states, their employment scenario is just much more diversified than Massachusetts.
It is.
You wouldn't expect to see necessarily as big a change because if California unemployment rate had risen by 1%, then the national unemployment rate would have risen by quite a bit.
That's true as well.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, but I definitely think it is worth keeping an eye on, especially for those of us who either own a restaurant in the Boston area or, you don't necessarily need to work in biotech to want to be focused on this and keep an eye on what it could be changing here.
Yeah, I'm curious. Tucker, what's the text line again?
617-362-1385.
Thank you, Mike.
My name's not Tucker, but it was right in front of me, so I knew the answer to that one.
Just interested to hear from any business owners in terms of what you're seeing as far as hiring, firing trends, as far as business activity, in the New England region. I'm interested. I'm always looking for just anecdotes and things like that. So if you've got anything, what's that text line again, Tuck or Mike, or both?
Should we do it in unison?
617-362-1385.
Can one of you do it? Because that was awful.
Yeah, that was terrible. Let's not do that again.
617-362-1385.
Okay, so anything else that we want to talk about as far as labor market? I know we've got some Beige book stuff that we want to get through.
No, I think the big story will be tomorrow's jobs report, and then also we've got big revisions coming. The 7th of September is when they do the annual revisions?
I don't know the exact date, to be honest.
So those are the two big labor market pieces coming up over the course of the next week or so, and we'll see if any of them move the trend line again. Quick break. Wall Street Watch.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
Hi, guys.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
New Englanders love the Caribbean, and now there's a Caribbean travel channel available for you to learn all about Caribbean culture while you're planning your next trip to your favorite island. The TravelShareIt.com marketplace is loaded with information about the arts, festivals, food, and music throughout the Caribbean, and is an interactive website featuring daily travel deals to any island of your choice. Book your next Caribbean vacation on the most comprehensive travel channel for the islands, TravelShareIt.com. That's TravelShareIt.com.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We focus on the people returning from service, not their specific illness or injury. Our number one goal is to make sure our veterans have the necessary services they need, be it physical, emotional, or financial, so that their transition can be seamless. You can help our great American heroes as well by making a donation today by visiting dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. One of the biggest risks to retirement isn't just market volatility, it's longevity. People are living 25 to 30 years after they stop working, and that gives inflation plenty of time to work against you. At just 3% inflation, your expenses double in about 23 years. Add to that the fact that healthcare costs typically rise faster than general inflation, and your later years could be your most expensive. Without a plan, that combination can put real pressure on your savings. That's why we've put together a brand new guide called Inflation in Your Retirement Plan. The guide shows you ways to balance longevity risk with rising costs and strategies that may help you make your money last through decades of retirement. Call 800-393-4001 to get your free copy today. 800-393-4001, or you can request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Tucker Silva with the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke, a partner with the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with a master's in taxation. And today we're talking about choosing beneficiaries for your IRA. Todd, what is the best way to deal with qualified retirement plan assets, and can they be transferred to these irrevocable Medicaid trusts?
So this is a tough asset in general. When you're dealing with retirement plan assets, it's difficult from an estate planning standpoint or a Medicaid planning standpoint to deal with them. Why? Because they have both an income tax component and an estate tax component, right? They're taxable when you take them out, and when you die, they're subject to your estate tax. So the general way to do this would be, one, you can name the spouse as the beneficiary of the IRA, or you can name the kids the beneficiary of the IRA, or sometimes you can name the trust the beneficiary or the estate the beneficiary. But it all depends on the size of your estate, the size of the IRA. But the one thing you really can't do is you can't take the asset and transfer it to the irrevocable trust or revocable trust while you're living. Otherwise, it will create a income taxable event. So tough to plan for those in advance unless you name the estate the beneficiary.
Educate yourself about the estate planning process. Request your free copy of Todd's brand new guide called Why Name Your Estate an IRA Beneficiary right now by calling 866-848-5699. That's 848-5699, or you can request a copy from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Markets are modestly higher as Wall Street reacts to a lower than expected ADP private payrolls report ahead of the all-important August jobs report due out tomorrow morning at 8:30. Right now, the Dow is up by nearly 0.2%. S&P 500 is up 0.2%, 13 points higher. NASDAQ also up by about 0.2% or 38 points higher. Russell 2000 is edging higher. 10-year Treasury yield down 1 basis point at 4.197%, and crude oil down over 1% lower today, trading just above $63 a barrel. Salesforce is weighing on the Dow with shares down over 6% after the cloud company posted a second quarter earnings beat on both the top and bottom lines. However, its quarterly revenue outlook was weaker than expected. Meanwhile, recently IPO'd software company Figma reported a double-digit rise in quarterly revenue, but profit missed forecasts, sending that stock tumbling by 19%. Sticking with tech, where Hewlett-Packard Enterprise posted a 54% jump in quarterly networking revenue, boosted by its acquisition of Juniper Networks. Shares in the server and cloud software company are climbing 4%. Elsewhere, American Eagle Outfitters said it anticipates a sales boost from marketing campaigns featuring actress Sydney Sweeney and NFL star Travis Kelce. The retailer also beat second quarter earnings and revenue estimates, sending shares flying by 30%. See what I did there? Shares in C3.ai are sinking 4% after the maker of custom AI applications posted a wider-than-expected quarterly adjusted loss, while its revenue missed the mark. And GitLab is retreating 8% after the provider of software development tools swung to a loss but raised its annual outlook. The company's CFO is also leaving to join Snowflake. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch.
Mike, yesterday the Fed put out their Beige book, which is named because the cover is beige, presumably one of Jay Powell's favorite colors, but not purple. It basically is not a measure, but it's a survey of businesses within all of the Federal Reserve branch regions, asking them about what's going on with their businesses. And I'll quote here. Most of the 12 Federal Reserve districts reported little or no change in economic activity since the prior Beige Book period. Across districts, contacts reported flat to declining consumer spending because for many households, wages were failing to keep up with rising prices. So this is where we have to kind of reconcile a whole bunch of different things. The first is that when you look at credit card data, payment processing data, basically anything banking related, it shows pretty consistent 4 to 5% year-over-year growth compared to last year. Trying to reconcile that with this showing, hey, flat to declining consumer spending, how do we do that? I have a couple thoughts. Do you want me to give mine, or do you want to give yours?
Yeah, why don't you kick in, Chuck?
Okay, couple thoughts that I have on this. The first is the bulk of that consumer spending growth is being driven by families in the top 20% of income.
Sure. That's
We're
been the
seeing
case
this
the last few years.
We're seeing this whether you're talking about travel, anything else. The remaining 80%, and in particular the bottom 50%, are really struggling and are needing to pull back. So this could very easily be something where, in terms of the quantity of businesses reporting bad news, it could be high because there are only so many businesses that sell that luxury high-end item. So I think that could be something that's realistic here. Another piece, that 4 to 5% spending growth is nominal. If you assume that inflation is running somewhere between, and again, this is just looking at the inflation data that we have because, well, it's the data that we have. If you assume that inflation is running somewhere between 2.7 and 3.3%, which is what we're seeing on the big price indices, call it 3%. Hey, if you've got consumer spending growing at 4, but inflation's 3, in real terms, you're only seeing 1% actual growth in product sales, and that's not uniform across all businesses, obviously.
Right.
So I think you can reconcile it that way, but the big thing that I come back to is, Mike, can you find me, aside from AI CapEx, where are the real bright spots in the U.S. economy right now? Like, what's the part that you look at and you're like, that thing is growing like crazy at the moment?
Yeah, it's few and far between, Chuck. I mean, the good news on the AI CapEx is that it infiltrates into more areas than just buying semiconductors. So it does spread out across the economy, whether it's construction or, utilities and electricity and energy production. But
I mean, it's doing that, and we're still getting these numbers.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that the big takeaway is, look, the economy's not falling off a cliff. It's not growing particularly fast either.
Yeah.
It's just muddling along, which is, look, if you were concerned about recession from tariffs, and the worst that you get is, hey, the economy slows to like 1% GDP growth for a year or so, that's not terrible.
No, it's not.
So I think that in terms of, looking at all this, there's nothing right now that points to the economy decelerating further. There's nothing that points to it really perking up. It's just kind of how it's been, which I'm sorry that this has been like, I know the year in markets has been really exciting, and I'm sure that, for individuals, whether you own a business or are working, trust me, it hasn't been like a boring year in the micro sense of it. From a broad sense of, hey, like, how's the U.S. economy doing? Fine. Could be better, could be worse.
About the same as last year.
Yeah. It's growing. Not as fast as you'd like to see, not as slowly as it could. Like,
I was going to say,
fine.
Chuck, that the commentary from the Beige book kind of aligns with a number of other things that we've been talking about, such as the national unemployment rate. Just kind of where it's been for the last year or so. Not ticking up. Total employment is growing, but not substantially. Kind of just where it is. The other thing that occurs to me is I think we got an email or a text from a listener a couple of weeks ago asking us to try and measure or estimate, like, hey, would a bubble and pop on the artificial intelligence valuations and just overall attitude towards AI, would that be enough to dramatically reshape the U.S. economy, and to what degree? I think the answer, based on what we just talked about, is yeah, most certainly, because what we are seeing that's, people are drawing optimism from is that artificial intelligence spend and innovation. And without it, there's not a whole lot of other, real shining bright spots at the moment.
No, it's kind of what it is.
It's not to say they won't come, right? Like, we are talking about a massive change in a number of different things being driven by the White House, and manufacturing and tariffs is just one of them. And so we've been open to the idea that 5-10 years from now, that looks different. But for this moment in time, it ain't housing. It's not business hiring. It's nothing. It's not, energy investment. It's really the AI investment that's keeping this thing chugging along.
Quick break here. When we come back, we're talking about Google antitrust and why this ruling sucks.
Text us 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Mark Vonner is the CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Mark is a career military man, having served for nearly 20 years, and we are so thrilled to have him and his company as a key partner and the presenting sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston. Mark comes from a proud military family, including his father Victor and his brother Timmy. Mark talks often about how serving his country was one of the greatest achievements of his life, and that's one of the key reasons that he chooses to give back to this special community. Mark is honored to continue his legacy that his father started when he built Veterans Development Corporation. Working to help many disabled veterans and their families has become a lifelong goal for Mark, and it's why he's taken the time to fully support the DAV Department of Massachusetts. You can join Mark Vonner and Veterans Development Corporation and help our great American heroes today by making a donation or becoming a sponsor. Simply visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Your retirement savings and life insurance benefits are more than numbers. They're part of the legacy you've worked hard to build. And with the right plan, you can help protect them for the people you love. This month's free guide from Cushing & Dolan, IRA and life insurance planning, estate tax strategies, and nursing home protection shows how naming your estate the beneficiary of your IRA or life insurance can help reduce estate taxes and protect assets from nursing home costs, and still give your spouse access when it's needed most. It's a straightforward strategy that can provide lasting benefits for you and your family. You'll learn how this approach can fit into your overall estate plan and why it may offer more flexibility than other options. Get your free copy today by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request the guide online right now at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. New Englanders love the Caribbean, and now there's a Caribbean travel channel available for you to learn all about Caribbean culture while you're planning your next trip to your favorite island. The TravelShareIt.com marketplace is loaded with information about the arts, festivals, food, and music throughout the Caribbean, and is an interactive website featuring daily travel deals to any island of your choice. Book your next Caribbean vacation on the most comprehensive travel channel for the islands, TravelShareIt.com. That's TravelShareIt.com.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We focus on the people returning from service, not their specific illness or injury. Our number one goal is to make sure our veterans have the necessary services they need, be it physical, emotional, or financial, so that their transition can be seamless. You can help our great American heroes as well by making a donation today by visiting dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Subscribe to our page and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. Looking for a getaway that's easy, warm, and unforgettable? Discover the magic of the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Just a short flight from New England with no passport needed and no money to exchange. Soak up the sun, stroll along white sand beaches, and feel the rhythm of the heartbeat of the islands. The USVI is America's Caribbean paradise. Plan your fall escape now at visitusvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
Couple pieces in the Wall Street Journal. The first, Google ruling shows antitrust tools struggle to keep up with tech markets. The second is AI wins the Google antitrust suit. The first headline is wrong because antitrust tools didn't struggle to keep up with tech markets. The judge just decided, hey, here's the best quote that I've seen on it, quite honestly. The judge effectively decided that, hey, you know what? If you find someone guilty of robbing the bank, sentence them to writing a thank you note for the loot. Because that's basically what happened here. And, like, I got to tell you, like, it's been a long time since I've been this upset about something antitrust related. And the reason why is the judge a year ago found that Google engaged in anti-competitive practices basically by, paying Apple a bunch of money to have its search engine as the default on Apple devices, and by using its Chrome browser to, collect a bunch of information and then share that with Google's ad business. Yeah. And then the judge said, no, you can continue doing all of that. And, like, that's kind of the ridiculous part of this whole thing. And so, like, the most ridiculous piece in this, the more I've, like, read on this and thought about it, the judge said, hey, you know what? You can keep paying Apple the $20 billion a year to be the default search engine, because otherwise Apple might be harmed and might not be able to make as good of phones. That's literally, so you did something illegal, but you did something with the money, and so now because someone else might be harmed, we can't take that money back. That's basically saying, hey, Bernie Madoff, you ran a Ponzi scheme, but we can't claw any of the money back because someone might be harmed by that.
Yeah, so I'm with you on the piece about, frankly, they committed a crime. They became an anomaly.
The judge found they committed a crime.
That they committed a crime, and then he did not punish them for it whatsoever. And that piece to me is just confounding. Like, okay, so because you think there's some threat to their business, artificial intelligence, you're not going to take any action. At the very minimum, you fine them some severe dollar amount for past behavior that was unacceptable, and God knows Google can afford it. I don't know if he has the capability to do that or not, and I'm getting a little bit out of my expertise when it comes to antitrust cases and what the judge can enforce versus not enforce. I buy the argument that breaking up the company at this stage is unnecessary because of the threat of artificial intelligence. I think it's a weak argument, but let's be honest, you and I aren't as close to this case as the judge is.
No, Mike, here's the worst part. A year ago in his writing, the judge said that generative AI is not a capable threat to search.
A year ago he did.
How can you come back a year later and be like, well, you know what?
Well, that's exactly what he did. Because
I know!
Meta credited the rise of nascent competitors such as OpenAI, Anthropic, and Perplexity with posing a threat to Google's search business, and those companies, quote, changed the course of this case. It sounds to me like the last year worth of development made him change his mind, and had he known about the direction of AI a year ago and done enough research into understanding it, might not have found them to be a monopoly, which I don't know how you do that given what they were found guilty of. But nonetheless, that Mike, seems to be what the judge
Mike, in the last
concluded.
year, Google stock is up 47%. How can you say credibly the business has been, under threat when it's not? It's not like they're making less money. Their earnings are up.
Yep.
Their revenue is up. We talked about how great their quarter was just, a couple weeks ago. I'm sorry, this is out in La La Land. This is insane. The judge found them guilty and then said, keep doing what you were doing that I didn't like.
Yep. That's what
This is insane. If any actual human being and not a $2.7 trillion company did this, you'd be in jail. Jail. You crime, jail. That's what happens. It happens to Google. What do they get? You know what? And here's the other part that's just ridiculous on this. In the decision, Google cannot use the same anti-competitive playbook for Gen AI products that it used for search. So why is it okay for them to use it for search but not generative AI? What? It's either wrong or it's not. And furthermore, if you wanted to make a case, shouldn't they be allowed to use it for generative AI because they don't have any market power in that space? Whereas they do in search?
Is that what he's saying, is that they can't do it because they have no market power?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, it's just insane.
It is. I would agree with you that we have had a complete and utter failure of of U.S. laws and judges to understand and then police big tech companies, and I 100% agree with you, Chuck, that for Google to have been found to break the law for the last more than a decade and have literally no punishment is pretty obscene.
This is why people don't like big companies.
It's
because like
something Chuck's passionate about.
No, here's the problem: is any normal human being breaks a law and they have to pay consequences.
Yeah.
Whatever those are. It might be a $10 fine. It might be spending 30 days in jail. It might be a pre-trial diversion program. But you have to do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Google was found to break the law. And the punishment was, keep doing it, man. Do it again.
Because we don't want to hurt you.
Do it again because Apple needs that $20 billion. Yeah, like Tim Cook couldn't find $20 billion under his seat.
Folks, want to talk to you about an upcoming event that we would love for you to attend. There's actually 2 of them. This fall, we are hosting a live broadcast of this show, The Financial Exchange, followed by a couple of seminars. Chuck is going to be there. I'm going to be there. We're doing one of them down on Cape Cod, another one at the Showcase Superlux in Chestnut Hill. The first date for Cape Cod, it's at the Margaritaville Resort on Cape Cod on October 9th. Following that, we're going to do one a week later at the Showcase Superlux in Chestnut Hill on October 16th. If you're in the area, whether you've been to one of these in the past, they are a fun time. You can sit down, chat with other listeners and fans of the show, and then we'll be sitting down with folks after the fact to talk about our views on just where this economy is headed. And I know there are a lot of question marks. That's what we talk about every day on this program. If you would like to get more information on potentially attending, please give us a ring at 800-393-4001. Those dates, once again, October 9th on Cape Cod at the Margaritaville, October 16th at the Showcase Superlux in Chestnut Hill. We'd love for you to attend. Give us a call at 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
The golden canary, what precious metals are saying about the economy. Gold hit a new all-time high yesterday. It's off a little bit in trading today, but still, pretty darn close there, above $3,600 per troy ounce. What does this mean, Michael? What are precious metals saying about the economy?
You tell me, man.
Choose your own adventure. One is, hey, if the Fed cuts, there's going to be more inflation, and you got to watch out for that. 2, if the economy weakens, then there's going to be more money printed, and you got to watch out for that. Right? Like that's basically the 2 reads that you can have on gold, in my opinion.
Yeah, people are more nervous about global interest rates, inflation, fiat currencies than they were a couple of years ago, and that's potentially moving gold around.
Yeah, that would seem to be, those are the kind of explanations. Either growth is worse or better than expected. In either case, something's off. Let's take a quick break. We got hour 2 coming up in just a little bit.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams. Your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
Did you outgrow your timeshare and now you want out? But you can't. You can't sell it, and you can't get out of the contract. Imagine trying to get out of your mortgage. That's what a timeshare is. You can't just call up the bank and say, I don't want to pay it anymore. But we may be able to help you do just that. Listen, a timeshare maybe for you once was a great thing, but now you don't use it much. And they are not easy to get rid of. Plus, you do have to pay for it every month. Qualified timeshare owners can get out of their contract legally and permanently without ruining your credit or even filing bankruptcy. And imagine, no more mortgage payment or fees. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline Qualification Line now. It's free to learn more.
800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. That's 800-455-7967. Paid for by Timeshare Defense. Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM. Concord, Boston, the Money Matters Radio Network.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
This fall, why just watch the leaves change when you could watch the sunset over turquoise waters? The U.S. Virgin Islands are your perfect fall escape. Set sail on the sparkling blue sea, snorkel colorful reefs, kayak through calm lagoons, or try to reel in the big one with world-class sport fishing. Then, explore Charlotte-Amalie, the capital of St. Thomas, with its historic streets and duty-free shopping. Ferry to St. John's Virgin Islands National Park for hiking and secluded beaches. And finally, experience the culture, festivals, and rum of St. Croix. 3 incredible islands, countless experiences, and something for everyone to enjoy. With easy travel from New England, no passport required for U.S. citizens, and no money to exchange, paradise is closer than you think. So why wait? This can be the season you fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands in America's Caribbean. The U.S. Virgin Islands. Plan your getaway now at visitusvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
Mark Vonner is the CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Mark is a career military man, having served for nearly 20 years, and we are so thrilled to have him and his company as a key partner and the presenting sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston. Mark comes from a proud military family, including his father Victor and his brother Timmy. Mark talks often about how serving his country was one of the greatest achievements of his life, and that's one of the key reasons that he chooses to give back to this special community. Mark is honored to continue his legacy that his father started when he built Veterans Development Corporation. Working to help many disabled veterans and their families has become a lifelong goal for Mark, and it's why he's taken the time to fully support the DAV Department of Massachusetts. You can join Mark Vonner and Veterans Development Corporation and help our great American heroes today by making a donation or becoming a sponsor. Simply visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
This month's free guide from Cushing & Dolan is called IRA and Life Insurance Planning, Estate Tax Strategies and Nursing Home Protection. Learn how naming your estate a beneficiary can reduce estate taxes, protect assets from nursing home costs, and avoid the 5-year Medicaid waiting period. Call 866-848-5699 to get your free guide today, or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we've got a guide available this month on the topic of inflation and your retirement plan. Mike, a lot of people listening might be familiar with the idea of the Consumer Price Index, the CPI, but rare is it that we find someone whose own personal rate of inflation exactly matches the CPI consistently.
Of course, we all have different spending habits. We all live in different parts of the country and have different effects of inflation. But I think a great example here, Chuck, is during a large portion of the 2010s decade, CPI was relatively in control, and people got very little in the way of increases on their Social Security. However, healthcare inflation was pretty hot, and Medicare prices went up pretty dramatically during that period of time. And that is one area that dramatically affects retirees that doesn't play into CPI all that much and resulted in people seeing their Social Securities just not growing a whole lot during that 2010 decade. And so you really do have to evaluate the risk of, hey, here are my spending categories, and how might things like changes to the labor market or changes to energy markets, if I live here in the Northeast and I can't get natural gas and I'm instead relying on oil prices, how could those changes really affect my future finances?
Folks, our guide this month is titled Inflation in Your Retirement Plan, and the way to request it is by calling 800-393-4001. You can also request it online at armstrongadvisory.com. The guide again is Inflation in Your Retirement Plan, and that phone number to call is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Chuck, Mike, and Tucker with you, and we got a modest rally taking place across U.S. equity indices today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up 0.25%, about 117 points. S&P 500 up about 0.33%, or 20 points, and the Nasdaq Composite up 0.33%, about 68 points as well. When we take a look at what is going on in the bond market, 10-year Treasury not really going anywhere, down 0.6 of a basis point to 4.205%, so no major movement there. Oil, West Texas Intermediate, sliding a little bit again on the back of rumors of another OPEC Plus output hike. So you've got West Texas Intermediate down 45 cents a barrel to 63.52. Gold is off $31.40 an ounce a day after hitting an all-time high above $3,600 for the first time. Still sitting at $36.04 and 10 cents right now. And prior to the market opening, we received weekly jobless claims. That initial claims rose very modestly to 237,000. Continuing claims dropped by 4,000 to 1.94 million. And so we continue to be in just somewhat of a frozen labor market with no signs of real trouble, but no signs that we're breaking out and seeing the labor market picking up at this point. So kind of the status quo there, and that's why, hey, continued modest upward drift in markets is kind of the norm, absent a change in the economic data or earnings picture. Mike, anything else to add before we get to our top story here?
No, I think I think too often we kind of phrase this in the negative. Fundamentally, we haven't seen much change. Growth is moderating. We're moderating in a fairly healthy position, I guess, is where I would go back to. It's not to say there aren't concerns that we have out there, but I don't want to portray the idea that, we're slowing down and that's a problem. No, we're at 4.2% unemployment, inflation at 3%. I'm concerned about both of those things going up. But to this point, they haven't. And if we moderate right here and continue to see modest growth, that's not a bad position to be in given everything else going on.
Top story here. McDonald's. They escalate the restaurant industry's fight over tipping. So here's the big thing, is that McDonald's has to pay workers at or above the federal minimum wage. And at the state level, they have to pay at or above the state minimum wage because McDonald's workers are not tipped. And they are unhappy because, hey, there's a different class of restaurants where you have, sit-down service, and those sit-down restaurants do not have to pay the normal minimum wage. They can pay the tipped minimum wage, which is obviously far lower. It's $2.13 an hour federally, but as long as workers receive tips that take them north of $7.25 an hour, the restaurant doesn't have to pay them anything else. If there's a difference there, they do have to make up that difference. But McDonald's saying, hey, these sit-down places like Chili's that are offering all these great deals right now, they don't have to pay their labor full freight, but we do, and we don't think that's fair.
And by the way, those laborers that Chili's who make those tips don't necessarily have to pay taxes on all of it coming up here. So double disadvantage for McDonald's. And then, add in the biggest state in the country, California, who has all of these new fast food minimum wage laws. It puts them at a further disadvantage. So do I think that McDonald's is really concerned about the state of the American worker? No.
No,
do I
concerned
think
about
that they are worried about
sales.
losing market share because of the competitive disadvantages they have? Yes, I'm quite certain that is the case.
So McDonald's is trying to get lawmakers to phase out the tipped minimum wage. That's what they want to happen. They want all restaurants to have to pay full freight. Here's, the minimum wage. This is what you've got to pay. And sure, if your workers receive tips, okay, they can above and beyond that. Couple questions, Mike. And I don't know, what the law actually is on this. McDonald's is the only reason that they have to pay the full wage because, McDonald's does not allow you to tip, correct?
No, I do not believe so. I think I have seen I think you can donate to the Ronald McDonald charity, and that's the only tip jar that I've seen at a McDonald's. I don't believe they have the capability to tip.
So, let me ask this question. If offered the ability to tip at a McDonald's, would you, and how much? This gets into, what are we paying for with the tipping, right?
I don't have an answer for you there, Chuck.
I do. It's no.
You wouldn't?
No.
Walk me through it, Tucker.
Just
Enlighten
no.
me.
It's fast food. You're
you
in,
tip,
you're out.
So
See
you never
later.
tip at Chipotle?
So
no.
other things.
You don't.
So other questions.
Okay.
Do I stutter?
At least
No.
you're consistent.
With that tipping, okay? Here's the thing. Remember, depending on the state, state laws, I believe, in a lot of cases, don't allow back-of-house workers to receive portions of those tips. So you literally, in many cases, would just be tipping the person putting in your order. And on a kiosk, I don't think you'd be allowed to in a lot of states because where does it go? There is no front of house, right?
Right.
Counter to that, what if you are running your business like a Chick-fil-A? Chick-fil-A, what do they do, Mike? Do they bring you your food?
I guess they do, yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
How and this is why when we get into all of these actual specifics of the conversation, it becomes a really challenging thing to sort through as far as, hey, what should the law be surrounding tipped minimum wage versus regular in a restaurant, and who should be allowed to be tipped and who? I mean, does any of this have any logical consistency?
Not really.
Again,
Chipotle versus McDonald's. That makes no sense.
Just as an example, why can't you tip someone back of the house? Yeah. If the cook makes a really good meal for you, Why can't I just walk back there and be like, hey, here's a 20, big guy?
Not very sanitary, Chuck.
They could have a jar, or they could have one of those vacuum tubes that the banks used to have.
Chuck wouldn't need to put on a hairnet.
No. Totally. A beard net maybe, but that's a different story. So I don't know who's right or wrong on this, because the whole legal framework about tipped minimum wage, it's just a mess.
Yeah, everything surrounding tipping and gratuity these days has gotten incredibly confusing, annoying, and I don't think McDonald's has much of a leg to stand on here. I think they got some sour grapes, especially in California, where they are at a distinct competitive disadvantage. But I don't have a great idea about how to fix this.
Well, Mike, you just went to Europe, right?
Yep.
How was your feeling about how the restaurant industry was over there?
Yeah, I mean, you run your credit card, you don't even have the ability to add a tip. Some people add a little bit of cash at the end of the meal, and I did, because I swear to God, I was describing this to other people. Like, I feel itchy when I eat a meal and don't leave it. Like a sit-down meal, it would just bother me when I finished a sit-down meal and didn't leave any tip, so I would leave something in cash. But, yeah, it's a very much more pleasant system in my mind.
Okay, do that. That's
Do
where
we
I
do
stand.
dollars or euros?
Euros.
They might prefer dollars. Not this year, but
not this year. Yeah.
In any case, so I don't know who's right on this, but this is clearly going to be a thing.
Yeah.
If McDonald's is talking about it, it's going to be a thing because they've got some lobbying heft on this, and part of me then wonders, okay, do some of the other companies get involved at this point as well? Does Wendy's start going this route? I don't even know who owns Burger King right now. It's probably some private equity firm.
I mean, McDonald's went far enough to withdraw from the National Restaurant Association over this issue. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if other fast food places do withdraw from that as well and add to the pressure. But on the other hand, this isn't happening anytime in this administration.
You don't think so?
No, we haven't seen a move on federal minimum wage laws in decades, and I don't see it happening now.
I don't know. This one is interesting to me, only that, given the no tax on tips legislation, you wonder if there's an incentive for this administration to find a way for a larger group of workers. Here's my question. What if the answer isn't getting rid of the tipped minimum wage, but expanding it to more parts of the restaurant industry?
So that I have to tip at McDonald's now?
Yes.
Ugh.
I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying, couldn't you see that being the path that ends up being taken instead of the other way?
Yeah. No, I like I said, I just don't think I don't think anything gets done on minimum wage under this administration with such a narrow control. No, I don't see it.
Even though yesterday did you see the guidance that came out about the no tax on tips?
No.
Oh, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about some of the businesses and jobs covered under the no tax on tips legislation. We've also got trivia right after this.
The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Subscribe to our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. This fall, why just watch the leaves change when you could watch the sunset over turquoise waters? The U.S. Virgin Islands are your perfect fall escape. Set sail on the sparkling blue sea, snorkel colorful reefs, kayak through calm lagoons, or try to reel in the big one with world-class sport fishing. Then, explore Charlotte-Amalie, the capital of St. Thomas, with its historic streets and duty-free shopping. Ferry to St. John's Virgin Islands National Park for hiking and secluded beaches. And finally, experience the culture, festivals, and rum of St. Croix. 3 incredible islands, countless experiences, and something for everyone to enjoy. With easy travel from New England, no passport required for U.S. citizens, and no money to exchange, paradise is closer than you think. So why wait? This can be the season you fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands in America's Caribbean. The U.S. Virgin Islands. Plan your getaway now at visitusvi.com. That's visitusvi.com. Every dollar you've saved in retirement accounts and life insurance tells a story of hard work, smart choices, and the future you envision for your family. One way to help that story end well is to make a beneficiary choice that does more. This month's free guide from Cushing & Dolan, IRA and life insurance planning, estate tax strategies, and nursing home protection explains how naming your estate as the beneficiary of your IRA or life insurance can add a layer of tax efficiency and nursing home protection, while still allowing your spouse access when it matters. It's about keeping more of what you've built working for your loved ones now and in the years to come. Get your free copy today by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it online from our website, LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Artificial intelligence is changing the way companies invest and how markets move. Add to that global trends like international outperformance, a weakening dollar, and shifting bond yields, and you've got a complex landscape for investors. This is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we're hosting 2 financial seminars this fall to help you understand what it all means. Join us at Margaritaville Resort, Cape Cod on October 9th, or at the Showcase Superlux in Chestnut Hill on October 16th. Call 800-393-4001 to reserve your seat. We'll talk about how diversification and preparation may help you navigate uncertainty so your plan is ready. Don't miss this chance to get a clearer picture of your financial future. Register today by calling 800-393-4001 or on our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
Hear the Financial Exchange every day from 11 to noon on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. Keep it here for the latest business and financial news and the trends on Wall Street. The Financial Exchange is now live on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Time for trivia here on the Financial Exchange, and our look at famous Bens continues with the most famous Ben of them all, Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin is usually associated with Philadelphia, but he didn't arrive in the city until he was 17. Franklin was actually born and raised in a different popular colonial city. So, trivia question today. What city was Benjamin Franklin born and raised in? Once again, what city was Benjamin Franklin born and raised in? Be the 7th person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer. And you win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Once again, the 7th correct response to text us to the number 617-362-1385 will win that t-shirt. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Mike, so 2 days ago, the Treasury Department put out the list of the 68 occupations that they are proposing be eligible for the no tax on tips exemption.
Got it.
Would you like me to go through them?
Probably not all 68, but maybe some of the highlights.
I can do it quickly. In beverage and food service, bartender, waitstaff, food servers, dining room and cafeteria attendants, chefs and cooks, food prep workers, fast food and counter workers, dishwashers, host staff, bakers.
So pretty much everybody in food services.
Correct. Entertainment and events, gambling dealers, gambling change persons, gambling cage workers, Gambling and sportsbook writers and runners, dancers, musicians and singers, DJs, except radio, entertainers and performers, digital content creators, ushers, lobby attendants, and ticket takers. Don't know when the last time is I tipped one of those or even saw one of them. Locker room, coat room, and dressing room attendants.
Okay.
Hospitality and guest services, baggage porters and bellhops, concierges, hotel, motel, and resort desk clerks, maids and housekeeping cleaners.
Okay.
Home services, home maintenance and repair workers, home landscaping and groundskeeping workers, home electricians, plumbers, home heating and air conditioning mechanics, home appliance installers, home cleaning service workers, locksmiths, and roadside assistance workers.
Those ones are a little bit surprising. So, again, my brother's a landscaper. He should almost definitely try and restructure some of his billing.
The other thing, but this is only if you are doing it for homes.
Right.
You'll notice that it's like if you are a plumber on a commercial building, you can't get tipped.
Well, you can get tipped. You just can't.
You can't.
It won't be tax-free.
Okay, sure. Personal services, personal care and service workers, private event planners, so wedding planners now can pay no tax on tips. Private event photographers, private event videographers, event officiants, pet caretakers, tutors, nannies, and babysitters. Okay. Personal appearance and wellness, skincare specialists, massage therapists, barbers, hairdressers, hairstylists, shampooers, manicurists, and pedicurists, eyebrow threading and waxing technicians, makeup artists, exercise trainers, tattoo artists, tailors, shoe and leather workers. Sure.
How many shoe and leather workers do we have left?
Not a lot of cobblers these days, man.
Yeah.
Recreation and instruction, golf caddies, self-enrichment teachers. What's a self-enrichment teacher?
It's like a life coach.
Yeah, I would take that as some
Isn't
sort
that
of
someone else's self-enrichment? Like, isn't that other person enrichment? Self-enrichment is like a self-help book, right? How is it self-enrichment if you're not doing it yourself? What's the deal?
Need a little help to do my
Thank
self-enrichment.
you. Recreational and tour pilots, tour guides and escorts, travel guides, sports and recreation instructors. And finally, transportation and delivery, parking and valet attendants, taxi and rideshare drivers, shuttle drivers, goods delivery people, personal vehicle and equipment cleaners, private and charter bus drivers, water taxi operators, rickshaw, pedicab, and carriage drivers, and home movers.
So I'm going to ask the same question I did when we were debating whether or not this would go into effect. If I am my brother, who is a landscaper,
yes,
who just billed me $300 for work that he did, why would I not rebill all of my work by saying there's 100% mandatory gratuity and now your fee is $150? There does not seem to be anything that is illegal
Can one have
about
mandatory gratuity?
If I go to a restaurant with a group of 10, it's built right into the check.
Okay, so this is where we even get, like, how can... I mean...
That's not really a tip in my mind, but it is gratuity, and therefore I believe would be...
I mean, here's the thing. Gratuity, by definition, is a gift.
Yeah.
So how can you have a mandatory gift? Which, like, this is...
Well, we do it all the time.
I know we're digressing here, but that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, but if I fall into one of these categories, I would do anything in my power. Again, if you are the owner of the business, maybe you're not going to be willing to do this, but I would do anything in my power to lower my paid wage and increase my tips. What's the cap? $25,000 a year?
Yes, $25,000 a year in tips that you can exclude
That's
from
a lot
income.
of money. That's a lot of dough. If you're working in one of these
you don't
jobs.
get to save $25,000. That it's a deduction.
$25,000 deduction. Yeah, but
the Brookings Tax Policy Center estimates it's a $1,400 savings on average. Which I'm not saying it's nothing.
Yep. Okay.
But it's not like you're saving $25,000 on taxes each year.
No, understood.
So yeah, that's the list. Can I also just talk about this Wall Street Journal article that popped up? It was I clicked on it actually while I was looking at the previous one about McDonald's.
Yeah.
Purdue chicken heiress lists a 104-acre New Hampshire estate for $15 million. So I saw Purdue chicken heiress, and I'm like, gotta click on it just to see what's going on, right? They buried the lead. It's in the first sentence, but they buried it. Mitzi Purdue, an heiress to both the Purdue Chicken and Sheraton Hotel fortunes, is one of the sellers of a New Hampshire estate asking for $15 million. She's the daughter of the Sheraton Hotel's co-founder and widow of Purdue Chicken CEO Frank Purdue. What a isn't that amazing? Like you are the heiress to both a massive hotel chain and Big Chicken. Does it get any better than that? It's hard to see that it does, Mike.
Yeah.
You always got a roof over your head and a chicken in every pot.
Yeah.
It's as good as it gets. Right there. It's as good as it gets. What else do you need? If it all goes to hell in a handbasket, I'm staying here, and here's my chicken. You're covered. It's as good as it gets. Let's take a quick break here. When we return, we're going to have the trivia answer. We're going to have Wall Street Watch, and we're going to be joined by Mark Vonner from Veterans Development Corporation right after this.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. One of the biggest risks to retirement isn't just market volatility, it's longevity. People are living 25 to 30 years after they stop working, and that gives inflation plenty of time to work against you. At just 3% inflation, your expenses double in about 23 years. Add to that the fact that healthcare costs typically rise faster than general inflation, and your later years could be your most expensive. Without a plan, that combination can put real pressure on your savings. That's why we've put together a brand new guide called Inflation in Your Retirement Plan. The guide shows you ways to balance longevity risk with rising costs and strategies that may help you make your money last through decades of retirement. Call 800-393-4001 to get your free copy today. 800-393-4001, or you can request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. This fall, why just watch the leaves change when you could watch the sunset over turquoise waters? The U.S. Virgin Islands are your perfect fall escape. Set sail on the sparkling blue sea, snorkel colorful reefs, kayak through calm lagoons, or try to reel in the big one with world-class sport fishing. Then, explore Charlotte-Amalie, the capital of St. Thomas, with its historic streets and duty-free shopping. Ferry to St. John's Virgin Islands National Park for hiking and secluded beaches. And finally, experience the culture, festivals, and rum of St. Croix. 3 incredible islands, countless experiences, and something for everyone to enjoy. With easy travel from New England, no passport required for U.S. citizens, and no money to exchange, paradise is closer than you think. So why wait? This can be the season you fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands in America's Caribbean. The U.S. Virgin Islands. Plan your getaway now at visitusvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
Mark Vonner is the CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Mark is a career military man, having served nearly 20 years, and we are so proud to have him and his business as a key partner and a presenting sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston. The DAV Department of Massachusetts does incredible work, and it's one of the first organizations that Mark became familiar with after his military service ended back in 1984. As Mark built his company, he knew he'd be giving back to fellow veterans who needed jobs, support services, medical supplies, and so much more. Mark works with disabled veterans every day, and it's one of the key reasons why he's such a big supporter of Dan Stack, the DAV Department of Massachusetts, and the DAV 5K Boston. You can join Mark Vonner and his team and make a donation to the DAV Department of Massachusetts or become a sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston. Simply visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke, a partner with the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with a master's in taxation. And today we're talking about choosing beneficiaries for your IRA. Todd, what is the best way to set up designated beneficiaries for qualified plan assets from both a Medicaid and estate tax planning perspective for a married couple?
Generally, for a married couple, you have several choices. The most commonly used one is you're going to make the surviving spouse the designated beneficiary. It doesn't shelter assets from estate taxes. It just passes to the surviving spouse. It avoids probate, and it's probably the best way to go from an income tax perspective, not necessarily an estate tax perspective. Another way would be you could technically name the trust the beneficiary of the IRA when you pass. That at least will help it shelter assets for estate tax purposes and still provide for the surviving spouse. But from a Medicaid perspective, it will then protect it from the nursing home, but it'll take 5 years. Perhaps the newest and best way to do this would be to name the estate the beneficiary, provided you are over age 73 or over. That way, it goes through probate into the will. It is sheltered for estate taxes. It is immediately protected from the cost of long-term care for the surviving spouse, and the surviving spouse has access to it as well.
Educate yourself about the estate planning process. Request your free copy of Todd's brand new guide, Why Name Your Estate an IRA Beneficiary, right now by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request a copy from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Time now for Wall Street Watch, a complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Markets in positive territory as Wall Street reacts to a lower than expected ADP private payrolls report ahead of the all-important August jobs report due out tomorrow morning at 8:30. Right now, the Dow is up by 0.4% or 184 points higher. S&P 500 is up nearly 0.4% as well, at 24 points higher. NASDAQ is up by 1/3%. Russell 2000 is also up by 1/3%. 10-year Treasury yield is down by 1 basis point at 4.192%, and crude oil is down nearly 0.7%, trading at $63.54 a barrel. Salesforce weighing on the Dow today with shares down nearly 6% after the cloud company posted a second quarter earnings beat on both the top and bottom lines. However, its quarterly revenue outlook was weaker than expected. Meanwhile, recently IPO'd software company Figma reported a double-digit rise in quarterly revenue but missed profit forecasts, sending that stock tumbling by 17%. Sticking with tech, where Hewlett-Packard Enterprise posted a 54% jump in quarterly networking revenue, boosted by its acquisition of Juniper Networks. Shares in the server and cloud software company are climbing 5%. Elsewhere, American Eagle Outfitters said it anticipates a sales boost from marketing campaigns featuring actress Sydney Sweeney and NFL star Travis Kelce. The retailer also beat second quarter earnings and revenue estimates. That stock surging by 32%. And GitLab shares dropping 8% after the provider of software development tools swung to a loss but raised its annual outlook. The company's CFO is also leaving to join Snowflake. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch.
As we mentioned, joining us now is Mark Vonner. Mark is the CEO of the Veterans Development Corporation. He's also the presenting sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston. That's coming up November 8th on Castle Island. I'm going to give everybody a little bit more detail on the big event coming up in November. But Mark's joining us now. Talk a little bit about their partnership with the DAV, their commitment to that group, and their company generally in the industry. So, Mark, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. For those unaware, tell us a little bit about Veterans Development Corporation, the company that you lead, and the work that they do. What space do they occupy in that construction space?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me today. I appreciate it. We do this all the time, and I'm very appreciative of you having us. Veterans Development is a general contractor that serves pretty much the federal government. We do a lot of VA healthcare work.
Okay.
Pretty much from Maine all the way down to Connecticut.
Okay.
And we renovate and restore all of the VA hospitals.
Now, VDC has been very involved with military members and their families, and employing a number of those people, as well as your commitment to the DAV. How did that come about? I know you have some military background as well, but talk to us about the company and their their involvement with the military.
Sure. Well, we got in touch with Dan Stack. He became a family friend over 20-plus years ago.
Dan Stack is the former adjutant of the DAV, and now I think he's the full-on president of the DAV, if I'm not mistaken.
With Mike Vila.
Yeah.
And Dan and I met through my brother Timothy, who was an Army Ranger. I was served in the Marine Corps. And when we got out, my brother went to work for Dan at the DAV. And one thing led to another, and they did their first annual DAV golf outing up in Wayland at the country club there at Sandy Burr. And from that, we just spun off. And over the years, Dan and I became very close. I got interested in the DAV through all the work that they were doing. And then the law came out for the veteran program, for which we are in now, which all service-disabled, veteran-owned small businesses have a set-aside within the federal government.
Okay.
So that's kind of how it started.
I feel like everyone I talk to that's been involved with the DAV always comes back to one main story that they've heard about the work that they do or some involvement they themselves had with the DAV. Does anything stick with you in terms of, you've been involved now for a few years between the race and fundraising opportunities. Does anything stick with you about the work that they do?
Oh, my goodness. There's so many. The housing program that they're doing and the actual individual service that they do for all of the veterans. Dan has just been an advocate. Mike now is running the show with his wife, and it's just been an unbelievable experience to watch them develop a person that may have an injury or some sort of, internal injury mentally, and they just work with the veterans from start to finish, and I just like being a part of it.
Would you mind, Mark, giving us a little bit more background on your military? You said 20 years in the Marine Corps. You have a brother in the Army Ranger. Sounds like a family of military veterans, if I'm not mistaken. Would you mind giving us a little bit more background on your experience?
Yeah, sure. My dad was in the Marine Corps in Korea. My brother Timothy and myself, my brother joined the Army. Want to be a little bit different than the norm.
Yeah.
We have a big Marine Corps family. And I joined in 1981 after graduating high school.
Yeah.
And from that point, it just really helped me launch my career when I got out. The Marine Corps teaches you a lot of stuff about discipline.
No doubt.
And I just took it from there, and it's been a wonderful experience to be part of the veteran community from that date all the way till now.
Shifting back to your business for a moment here, your area of construction is pretty niche, obviously. We talk a lot about AI and housing and data center demand. We talk a lot about housing construction. The space that you occupy is a little bit different. It's federal contracts. It's all that sort of stuff. Where has that been going over the course of the last few years? And is it an area that we're still seeing a lot of building going on and demand for this type of construction right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The entire country is renovating every VA hospital constantly. And they come out with these contracts that last about 5 years called MATOCs, multiple award task order contract. People vie to get into that contract, and they set aside a pile of money that the veteran community, which is nice for the VA, all of it goes service-disabled, veteran-owned small business as a set-aside program, which mostly everybody knows the VA hospitals in New England are in tough shape. They're old, so they constantly need renovating. So there's a lot of work. Great opportunity if you have a son, daughter, an aunt, uncle that wants to get into the trades. It's very, very lucrative. The pay scale is high because it's federal, and they go for a 5-year apprentice program. They graduate, and they get a raise every 6 months as long as they're doing their schooling. I mean, if I had a son, which I have 2 daughters, I'd have them in the trades now.
Got 3 myself.
We'll make sure they call
Get in
me.
the trades, too. Mark Vonner is the CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. He's been joining us today to talk about their sponsorship of the Disabled American Veterans 5K Boston. It's coming up November 8th. It's at Castle Island. We've been doing it here on the Financial Exchange for the last few years. It is an amazingly good time. They have the howitzers shooting off to start the race. It is a really, really fun and touching event to be at, and we really appreciate, obviously, your sponsorship of that event. I know you play a huge role in that, Mark. If you want to learn more, you can go to dav5kboston.com and check out a whole bunch more details. Usually this thing sells out pretty quickly, but always opportunities to come spectate and check it out. It's down on Castle Island in Boston. It's always a great time, and we would love for you to take a look, check it out, and book your time. Tucker?
DAV5K.Boston.
DAV5K.Boston.
Correct.
Of course, I got that slightly off. But DAV5K.Boston to get more information. And again, we've been joined today by Mark Vonner. He's the CEO of Veterans Development Corporation and presenting sponsor of the DAV5K. Always appreciate you having on here, and look forward to chatting to you.
Thank you for having me.
Mark. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Quick break. We'll be right back with some Stack Roulette. That's next.
Miss any of the show? The Financial Exchange Show podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit the subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Are you wondering where the economy is headed? GDP is growing, but tariffs, inflation, and job numbers are making headlines. Interest rates, housing costs, and policy changes are impacting all of us. Even AI is changing how markets move. Hi, this is Chuck Zodda from the Armstrong Advisory Group. We're hosting 2 financial seminars this fall to help you make sense of it all. Join us at Margaritaville Resort, Cape Cod on October 9th or at the Showcase Superlux in Chestnut Hill on October 16th. To reserve your seat, call 800-393-4001. We'll break down the economic trends, market risks, and smart strategies you need to plan for retirement and beyond. Diversification, preparation, and smart decisions are several of the keys to navigating uncertainty. Register today by calling 800-393-4001 or on our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. This fall, why just watch the leaves change when you could watch the sunset over turquoise waters? The U.S. Virgin Islands are your perfect fall escape. Set sail on the sparkling blue sea, snorkel colorful reefs, kayak through calm lagoons, or try to reel in the big one with world-class sport fishing. Then, explore Charlotte Amalie, the capital of St. Thomas, with its historic streets and duty-free shopping. Ferry to St. John's Virgin Islands National Park for hiking and secluded beaches. And finally, experience the culture, festivals, and rum of St. Croix. 3 incredible islands, countless experiences, and something for everyone to enjoy. With easy travel from New England, no passport required for U.S. citizens, and no money to exchange, paradise is closer than you think. So why wait? This can be the season you fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands in America's Caribbean. The U.S. Virgin Islands. Plan your getaway now at visitusvi.com. That's visitusvi.com. Your retirement savings and life insurance benefits are more than numbers. They're part of the legacy you've worked hard to build. And with the right plan, you can help protect them for the people you love. This month's free guide from Cushing & Dolan, IRA and life insurance planning, estate tax strategies, and nursing home protection shows how naming your estate the beneficiary of your IRA or life insurance can help reduce estate taxes and protect assets from nursing home costs, and still give your spouse access when it's needed most. It's a straightforward strategy that can provide lasting benefits for you and your family. You'll learn how this approach can fit into your overall estate plan and why it may offer more flexibility than other options. Get your free copy today by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request the guide online right now at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
It happens all over Massachusetts. In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women,
taking the lives of 1 in 3.
That's more than all forms of cancer combined.
For too long, heart disease and stroke have taken the lives of the women we love.
But we're not giving up because we have something better,
stronger, more powerful.
We have each other.
When we come together and go red,
the more power we have against our greatest health threat.
Visit GoRedForWomen.org today to learn more.
The Financial Exchange is now available every day from 11 to noon on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. Stay informed about the latest from Wall Street, fiscal policy, and breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is live on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Trivia question we asked previously was, what city was Benjamin Franklin born and raised in? That'll be Boston. Janet from San Mateo, California is watching us on YouTube today, is our winner, taking home a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Congrats to Janet. And we play trivia every day here in the Financial Exchange. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Mike, what do you got for Stack Roulette?
I got Spirit Airlines and low-cost carriers generally. There's an opinion piece in Bloomberg here about how low-cost airlines still have a niche, to which I would say facts are just not in evidence. Spirit Airlines sounds like it is on the cusp of some very serious threats to being able to even operate going forward. They've closed something like 16 routes that they used to fly, canceling a whole bunch of flights. And for me personally, at least, it's gotten to the stage where I have flown Spirit several times. I have had generally a pretty good experience in spite of all the criticism they get. I don't think I would book a flight on Spirit more than a few months out right now. I might get my money back from my credit card company if they go fully belly up, but then I got to rebook on another airline. I'm probably just not willing to do it at this stage. Frontier struggles. Southwest has had to completely revamp their business model. I'm just not entirely convinced that in the age of Delta and American offering a very stripped-down, low-cost flying version, that there is a space for Spirit Airlines and the likes of them today.
Yeah, this piece tries to make the argument that, it's, the problem is that, these companies aren't transparent, and when you add all the fees in, they're the same cost, and they shouldn't try to go up market. But these companies can't make money just selling basement prices. I think the big guys, are just too big right now. There's not enough competition, and so ultimately you can't compete with that scale. And if that's the case, the place I get to is, look, as much as I'm, a big antitrust guy, hey, if you were going to allow for Delta and Northwest to merge, and you were going to allow for United and Continental to merge, and U.S. Air and American to merge, you can't turn around then and be like, hey, JetBlue and Spirit, that's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
Because they just can't compete.
It's garbage.
It doesn't make sense to try to make them compete on an unlevel playing field. So I think ultimately maybe there is a place for budget carriers, but only if they're allowed to achieve the same scale as the companies that they're competing against, either through allowing them to merge, which I don't love, or Chuck's great big 2025 plan to break up the big airlines.
Would you book on Spirit right now?
No.
Because I'm looking at February break, and what I know is if I book on Spirit and they go belly up, and then I have to book on Delta the last second, it would be crushing. And so I'm looking at this right now I might be willing to pay $200 more per seat to fly on an airline that I know won't go out of business.
Yeah, I would agree.
Hey, this fall, why just watch the leaves change when you could watch the sunset over turquoise waters? Well, the U.S. Virgin Islands are your perfect fall escape. Set sail on the sparkling blue sea, snorkel colorful reefs, kayak through calm lagoons, or try to reel in the big one with world-class sport fishing. Then explore Charlotte Amalie, the capital of St. Thomas, with its historic streets and duty-free shopping. Ferry to St. John's Virgin Islands National Park for hiking and secluded beaches. And finally, experience the culture, festivals, and rum of St. Croix. 3 incredible islands, countless experiences, and something for everyone to enjoy. With easy travel from New England, no passport required for U.S. citizens, and no money to exchange, paradise is closer than you think. So why wait? This can be the season you fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands in America's Caribbean, the U.S. Virgin Islands. Plan your getaway now at visitusvi.com. That's visitUSVI.com.
Mike, I want to cover this piece from Bloomberg. A $30,000 Samsung TV hints at where the company's lineup is heading. And
who is this for?
But so it's for really it's for people who love TV and have money.
Yeah,
like watching Triple D, you know.
Watching what?
Triple D.
Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
That's the target demo.
It's funny. I just heard that term 2 weeks ago for the first time.
No, you haven't heard that?
No. Again, I'm not cool. I'm not hip. But anyways, the big thing, it's a 115-inch TV with what they call it's a micro RGB backlighting system. That the big premise on this is that each pixel is custom lit with a red, green, and blue light, not just a white one that comes through, and so you can get better color definition. I don't know. The premise of this, Mike, is not that there's going to be a ton of people that buy this, but this is how TV development always happens, is you do the high-end first, then you migrate it down as it becomes more cost-effective. Think about LED, LCD TVs, that, the flat screen. I remember back in, 2000, it was like, whoa, flat screen TV, it's $10,000. Now it's like, hey, here's a 42-inch for $8, It migrates down as you go. The part that I find funny about this, and I do this, I think about this a lot. So they have these pictures of these TVs, right? And I'm looking at this on the computer, and they're trying to the caption says the TV can produce a wider gamut of colors than Samsung's other sets. Okay, but the screen that I'm seeing it on can't. So who cares that there's a picture of the TV? Okay, that's great, but you don't need to show me because my screen cannot show me those other colors. So I always just find that kind of comical.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Musk has a new master plan to turn around Tesla, Chuck.
Ooh, what is it?
I think that it's robots, but quite honestly, I don't think I can get past the first sentence. My only question is, does Elon Musk still have the ability to move Tesla stock like he once did?
Of course he does.
Does he? He has made enough people angry at this stage that I'm not convinced he has the same luster that he did 3 years ago when it came to making promises that he ultimately doesn't deliver on.
I think his ideas are just worse. The robotaxi event earlier this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so they unveiled this special model robotaxi that they brought to a Hollywood set because they knew it wasn't ready for prime time.
Yeah.
And then the ones in Austin and San Francisco were just Model Ys. The idea just wasn't good, I think, is what I'm getting at. I think if there was something truly exciting that he was debuting, I think people would be kind of interested in it. But I don't think that he's getting there because there's already other companies like Waymo that are doing robotaxis. There are already other companies that are building humanoid robots. The stuff that moved the needle was, hey, I'm going to mass produce the world's first, I'm going to make the world's first mass produced electric vehicle. Okay, have at it. No one's done that.
Yep.
This is kind of like he's playing from behind. Even all the AI stuff, it's okay, everyone's doing that. What's really, that next step ahead that no one's looking at? I think that's the question. So I just think that the ideas are not as transformative because there's lots of other companies that are already doing this stuff.
Fair.
That's I don't know. I think if there's a good enough idea, I don't think anyone would care what Elon has or hasn't said. It's just okay. The stuff's kind of lackluster now. It's fine. You're doing robotaxis. So is everyone else. Oh, you're going to make robots? So is everyone else. Have you met the robot dogs that are, dancing
curing
and
loneliness?
Stuff? Yeah. Anyways, let's take a quick break for the rest of the day. Tomorrow, Jobs Friday. Big one. Do we see a continuation of the weakness from the prior one? Do we bounce back and show some new strength into the fall? Lot to cover. Tune in tomorrow, right here.